Try HelloFresh UK to get 60% off your first box, 25% off for 2 months, and to, of course, help support this channel. Link is down in the description. Thank you for your support. Well then, we return for our new season in Japan, and I am a very concerned man because we have had almost a time warp back to FM23 with this transfer window. No recognition of our weak areas in the squad planner. Superstars sold and their positions not replaced, and one star almost out the door. The director of football accepted an offer and he's got out of jail big time. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 26 of the head coach with me, Daniel. The FM24 edition is back for a new season, our 5th overall and our 4th full season in Japan. But we feel a little bit like we've jumped in a time warp here. We're getting a transfer window reminiscent of the FM23 head coach, and for the first time I'm a little bit concerned. If you add to the issues with injury and that we've had at times in pre-season, I'm a little worried about what the start of this season, which is a tough run of games on paper, will bring. Because we have had a director of football for the first time ignore the biggest weaknesses in the squad planner, albeit with some weeks of the window still to go, and who's tried to sell virtually all of our stars, one or two of which have now left the club. So if you're looking forward to finding out who and what has been going on for the last couple of months here, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. I should note that I've been applying for what I perceive to be opportunity jobs in Europe for 2.5 and 3 star, particularly when I saw the start to the transfer window, but I haven't even been shortlisted for one yet. So I think we're going to have to build in Japan for another year or two yet, but without a little bit of improvement towards the end of this window, I can see us going backwards if I'm honest with you. Let's start, as we always do, with the transfer window because it's been a very strange summer here at Yokohama FC. We've not really gone forward at all. And if it had been up to the director of football, we'd have probably been in quite big trouble here because he's tried to sell more than we have sold, but thankfully some of our players have stayed loyal. The problem I've got as well is that we've still got $1 million of transfer budget, and at the moment, despite the fact we're also well under our wage budget, the bank balance is going down after season ticket sales, after pre-season friendlies and prize money and TV revenue. So that's a little bit of a worry for me. But let's go and get through to the transfers because at the moment we have got one player who has joined the club. They're currently on loan and will join for a nominal fee next year, which I'm not too dissatisfied about. 2 players that we've had offers rejected for, you can see, but that doesn't tell all of the story. Let's go through to the transfer history and we'll go back to the last season first. In terms of release players, no one really of the highest first team level, but a couple of backups you may recognise. So Saito was our backup target man the first half of the year, went out on loan and has now been released. He's become a scout. We've got Hiroki Aquino, who played 1 or 2 as a centre midfielder but was on the decline. And the same for Nakagawa, who retired as well. So 3 backup players and bits of squad depth gone from the squad, but nothing from the first 11. That though changes when we go through to all of the transfers. If we go and have a look at the end of last season, before it ticked over, 2 players left on loan. One was a backup left wing back in Ren Kato, which I've got no problems with. He's not the greatest and I'm happy for him to move on. The other lad is another youngster who we loaned out, the one that got sent on loan to Gifu in our last year there, but not good enough for this level. We go through to this year for the players out. Bit more concerning because you can see a starter in there. Now the first one that went out was Tomataka Tatsuoka. He is an 18-year-old striker with a bit of promise, so a bit concerned that we've let him go. Was he one that we signed last year or a youth player? No, he was a youth player, but for a player of his potential, seems weird that he was sold for less than 100 grand, particularly given some of the other fees we've seen for young players. The big one though is Matthias Moraes, who goes off to Saudi Arabia. I mean, he was a good player for us. He was a starting centre half. Not anymore, he's not. That left-sided balance is gone. He's been offered 35 grand a week and it was just too good to refuse for him, I'm sure. What I'm a bit upset about is that we only got 775 grand because I feel we probably could have pushed that up a bit. The other 2 are just youngsters out on loan, Hara and Nagai. Neither of them anywhere near first team level. So not a big deal, but Moraes is the big one. What could have happened though would have been even worse because the big centre forward, our target man, our top goal scorer, Solomon Sakaragawa, at the very start of the window had an offer accepted, was about 1.4 million, wasn't even that big. Now he's got a 2 million price tag, which I'm sure he'll get sold for because he's still wanted by a couple of clubs. FC Tokyo is the team that bid for him. First offer was accepted, not even negotiated, but thankfully for us, he rejected the move and stayed here, which I have to applaud him for, quite frankly, because without that, we only had the summer signing Takahashi, who's good, but would not be the same level. There's no doubt in that. So we've managed to keep our big threat, which is a massive plus for us. But if we have a look at the transfers in, well, you can see there, all of the budget virtually spent on one player. We've got a couple at the back end of last season as well. So let's have a look at the first three. A lot of youngsters coming in again this winter, but a couple of them, to be fair, have actually got first team potential. And while the players that have come in are not bad, I'm not complaining about the standard of signing. What I'm complaining about is the fact that we've sold a centre-half, not bought in a top centre-half. We're very short at right-back because we sold Bouchari after the summer window last time out, and now we haven't got a replacement in that position. So they're probably the issues, more squad balance than lack of good signings. But let's look at the ones that have come in. We start with Kenta Goto. He is a young player that hasn't got much potential and a striker who can't finish or head the ball. Not promising, is it? The second one, though, a little better. From Nagasaki, we get Kakeru Funakai. Now, he is a left back and left wing back who is solid. He's not great. He's not standout. But when you consider we've got Suzuki, we've got Yaneda who's into his 30s now. I kind of understand that as a replacement for Kato who was loaned out. But again, not going to set the world alight. Just a solid squad signing. The next one and the final one before the tick over was Koshi Mikamo. He is a very poor left winger. If you can't cross or dribble, there's no real point being a winger, is there? Not very good at all. Can't finish at all. I mean, he's got nothing. He's not going to make it. This season, though, very surprising. Because, yes, it was a position we needed a bit because we'd had a loan player, we'd had a star sold in the summer. But Ken Kralicki had all of our budget at the time used on him. Now, of course, Sean Holmes has sold Murray since, so that's why there's money back in the kitty. But Ken Kralicki cost 1.2 million, and I'm not sure this is a signing I think is value for money. Now, let me get this out of the way very quickly. He's a good signing. He's going to start for us. He's got a great personality and he's an improvement. But he's 30 years of age. He's not brilliant. He's a slight improvement on our first team. And we've got youngsters in those positions with bigger potential than him. We're not going to get the full resale value, I wouldn't have thought. But it is a good signing. So considering we're not going to be here for the long term, we can't complain. He spent the last 3 years, as you can see, playing in this league and playing pretty well in it. So I don't think we can have too many complaints. But just seemed a weird type of signing to spend all of the budget on. The next one to come in was Hiroyuki Ilijima. He's got slightly more potential, but again, he's technically very poor. Not really got the quality on the ball, but he's got determination, work rate and physicality, which will take him to a certain level at least. The next one I'm actually quite excited about. Dai Sato comes in from Tottori. 165 grand for a 17-year-old striker. He's not got the best personality, but aside from that, he's pretty good. The composure could do with 1 or 2. He could do with a bit of pace to go with the acceleration. But as an out-and-out centre forward, if we can get him in a good mentoring group, he could be a bit of a superstar for the future. So I'm intrigued to see where his game goes and how he develops. But for now, very impressed with that signing for the fee. And when you consider the one that we sold, I guess he's a suitable replacement, albeit he won't be homegrown at the club. The next one falls into a very similar boat. Maurice Frabute. He comes in from KMSK for just over £1,000 and he's a young Belgian right back with bundles of potential apparently and so-called 2-star ability, but I'm not quite sure why. Physically he's very good and he's got a good cross on him and maybe as a wing back he'd be okay as a backup, but defensively as a fullback I'm not sure he's got enough. His positioning, his marking, his anticipation and composure, they all completely scare the life out of me, to be honest. He's another player with not much determination either. So a few concerns on that front. The last signing, though, is the first one you saw on that transfer centre screen. Marouane Luke, another Belgian. This time on loan from Schalke for a year, but with 50 grand future fee as well, already agreed. He's a good centre midfielder who can play wide, can play number 10, but looking at our formation, he's either going to be a 10 when theatrical drops off, or he could be a playmaker in centre midfield. Either role, he is pretty handy in, so no complaints at that signing for the fee. What it does do though, is take up one of the foreign slots for a player who I'm not sure is going to be an absolute star. When you look at someone like Moraes, who's gone out, who was an instant starter, was really high quality in the team, I'm a bit worried that this is the standard of foreign player they're finding, where that should be used to make us really strong by giving us a couple of stars in our team. So while it hasn't been a complete disaster of a window, it would have been if the target man had chosen to go to Tokyo. It's certainly not been brilliant, and if we look at certain areas of the squad now, we've still got real lack of depth. So Sekiguchi, who was back up on the right-hand side last year, is having to play because we've not got anyone better. Tagaji returns from loan, a centre-forward who can't finish, a right-winger who doesn't fit our formation, and he's now covering right wing-back. And the other one that's just come back from his loan is the young right-back Masaki Ando, who will probably need to be on the bench because he's homegrown at the club. But again, we're not talking about high-level players here, and we're not talking about an improved squad. We've had no centre-halves come in, so we've just got one weaker, and we've now got 5 rather than 6 who can play the 3 positions. We've not really replaced the first-choice goalkeeper in Broderson, who we lost last year, so it's between Diogenes and Hitano, neither of whom are as good. And in midfield, yes, we've just added Baluk, yes, Krolicki's come in, but Lara's 32, he's getting older, he's getting worse, still on big money with 1 year on his deal, not hugely happy at the club. And he's wasting a good chunk, a tenth of the wage budget, without being a superstar player. It's a big problem for us here. The only positive we can really take at the moment is the front 2 are still here. Mochizuki is a very good player, Agawa's a good backup, and of course at the moment, we've still got the target man, who so far has been a gem for us. Whether or not that will continue though, I don't know, because the service isn't going to be quite so great, and for us to have got a bit weaker at wing back is a bit of a problem. And one of the patterns you might have noticed there as we were going through the squad planner is fitness, because we've got multiple players injured. Suzuki's got the flu, Ando's got an injury, not that that matters. Fakai is out as well though, so those are the 2 there. But the amount of injuries in pre-season has been mad. Sakuragawa is back fit, he just had a few days out. But Ishida's been out for a few weeks, Vitalucci as well, and Yaneda. Muscle strains, pulls, they've been missing 2 or 3 weeks at the biggest time of the year. We've now got more players with a heavy match load from pre-season because at the end of it, as you can see, we've been without 6 or 7 players, plus a few that had been sold and not replaced. So we've got now a risk of injury in the opening games as well. And as you all know, after this first week, particularly through March, there's 2 games most weeks, albeit it does look slightly lighter this year. So that might be one positive and one bit of solace we can take. Though I'm looking at the end of April and May, and there's virtually a midweek game every single week, which could be problematic. We've struggled a bit in pre-season, we've been hit and miss, we've been off form, we've let in a fair few goals. And there is one thing we can't doubt, that having lost Broderson, Moraes and Bashari since the end of the last transfer window in the mid-season, we are in a significantly weaker position than we were 6 months ago defensively. And that fills me with huge concern going into this one. Hiroshima on the opening day is a tough game. We've got a reunion with Gifu not far away as well, but Kashiwa were good last year. Osaka we struggled with on the final day, and Vissel Kobe ran away with the title. It's not a friendly start. Let's have a look at what the media expects from us, because actually we've stayed pretty similar to last year. Expected 14th with an average squad, and I guess the sides at the bottom haven't really improved. Gifu are still the favourites to go down again, Imabari still down there. But the big problem is that sides at the top have improved, which makes our chances of matching what we did last year quite difficult. You can see Hiroshima expected to be 6th, Vissel Kobe up there again, Kashima yet again favourites though they failed last year, Kawasaki there, Yokohama have improved, our rivals, and Harawa, they've got better as well. So this is not going to be an easy season. It's probably the first one I'm going into feeling really apprehensive, because it's the first time I feel over a period of time this squad has gone backwards, and that fills me with cause for concern. We're going to get our team picked though, we're going to get through the opposition instructions, while there may be greater disasters to come with both Mochizuki and Sakuragawa wanted. I didn't mention, by the way, Mochizuki has a release clause of 2.1 million. He's worth 3.8. It's going to get triggered, isn't it? But despite that, I've got to make some fitness decisions and probably adjust what our assistant has gone for here. So let's go and pick our own 11 and we'll be back in a minute to run through it. Well, here's the team I'm going to gamble on today, and it's not my usual style, but it's mainly enforced. I've had to start 2 new players from the offset. One because the left wing back is the only one of 3 that's fit. Kraliki is playing in the middle because of injuries to Ishida, Vitalucci and Fakai. And that means as a result, I've probably dropped out the 1 new player I would have started in Baluk, but he only came in a few days ago, so I'm sure a bench place is fine for him. What it does mean though, is we've got 3 right-sided centre halves. I've got Kudo on the bench in case we need to balance it out, but the rest of the team looks like this. It is Go Hatano in goal, still preferred over Diogenes. A back 3 of Ueno, Fitzwater and Perales with Sekiguchi and new boy Funaki as the wing backs. We've got Lara and Kraliki the midfield too, the new partnership for this season, with Theatrical back behind Mochizuki and Sakuragawa. But the Thai player is really struggling. He's declining quickly. Was the fear we had when he joined, and that big injury towards the end of last season has not helped his cause. But in Agawa, in Baluk, we've not got match fitness, but we've got quality on the bench. And with a few others that are not quite there yet, we're going to have to hope these boys do the job. The big problem for me is wing back. I know we've got a couple to return, but if anything is going to happen before the window shuts, it's got to be a right wing back. Let's go and get through to the opening day against Hiroshima. A frustrating summer, a frustrating start to the season, but will that be followed on the pitch? As we go through to the first game of the season away from home, Isaac Mbenza is in. I'm not sure we've played a game against him in this career where he hasn't scored against us yet. The only time I think we beat them, he was on the bench, and that was in that second League Cup tie, wasn't it? So let's go and get through to the kickoff. We know we can win here, but we're normally in better nick than this, and at the moment, you're looking at Vissel Kobe winning, you're looking at Arawa doing the same. I'm concerned, there's no doubt about it. We have had the better start according to the stats, but without forcing any highlights at all. So let's see how this one goes. Away at Hiroshima, I'm a concerned man. I really am. Well, no highlights, but we're approaching half time and we've got an injury in the number 10 role. Theatrical is out again and it's problematic for us. We're going to have to take him off, and it does mean another debutant in Baluk. Let's see what he's able to deliver for us. We're not going to change anything else now. I'd probably take a 0-0 if I'm being honest with you. So let's go and get into the second half and see whether the new boy can be a star. Thrown straight in after very few training sessions with the team. But what can he deliver? As Sakuragawa nicks the ball in halfway for Kraliki. Good ball up to Lara. Support out wide from Sekiguchi. Good ball in. Sakuragawa down on his chest and off the crossbar. Started and almost finished the move in style. But that is the difference he makes to this team. He just gives us a focal point. And if he does get sold, we're in big trouble. I hope nobody else shows any interest, because at the moment, for an hour gone, we are just about clinging on in this game. The problem we've got, as you can see, is fatigue at left wing back, but no option to bring on for him. And up front, we're not getting much service because there's not that much quality out wide. So who can play left wing back here? My answer would probably be no one. Can either of the right wing backs do it? Sekiguchi, he can a bit. And then Ando could play on the right. I think that's the best we can do. We're going to have 2 unfamiliar players at wing back. In midfield, we're going to take Lara off for Morishima maybe. Or do I go for Ishida? Play the number 10, Baluk in the middle. That might be the best way to do it. Gives us a natural playmaker in there as well. Then I'll give it 5 before I chuck Agawa on. We know he's got a goal in him. And Mochizuki, since he got injured towards the end of last year, he's not been in great form. We've also got fatigue in the middle as we get the ball defensively and concede it from the throw-in as it's into the back post. Iwasaki's up. That is a huge miss from Hiroshima. Should have been 1-0. They're gaining momentum, as you can see, towards the end of this second half. And we're running out of steam. So Kraliki, his debut will be over for Morishima. He's got the natural fitness and he's not the best passer of the ball, so we'll keep him box to box. And then Agawa, you will come on for Mochizuki, prevent any risk of injury and give us a poacher through the middle. Let's see if we can nick this as we encourage the lads. But 0-0 wouldn't be a bad result. Whether we can cling on for it and whether we can have enough threat during the season. For now though, a boring start on paper. Apologies if you're excited about watching this game because it's been a stinker. But look at the back four, they've done pretty well. The goalkeeper and the three defenders rated well. Sekiguchi had a good game. But it was a good result, and Hiroshima, according to the media, were expected to be 6th. I know we overachieved last year and got up in that range ourselves, but this is a stronger league this year. It is a weaker team that we've got, and our expectation is mid-table again. So if we can creep into the top half and get results like that more often, I'll be a very happy man, because this squad is not a good one at the minute. And unless the director of football's got magic in him, I'm not sure it's going to get much better. So we're going to have to learn to play a slightly different way without the ball, a bit more cautious, a bit more defensive minded. But if I'm being honest with you, with the 3 right-footed defenders, none of them want to play on the left. I'm thrilled with the defensive display. And if we can get the other 2 or 3 back from injury, just to give us balance on the bench more than anything, then I feel we will be in a good position. So I'm pretty happy with that day as an overall outing. Not happy with the window, not happy with the off-season. But there are still 6 weeks of the transfer window to go. And despite the financial problems at the club, we've bizarrely got a lot of budget left. So Sean Holmes, it is time for you to live up to your attributes, because at the moment, you have not been doing it. I am tempted to return for the Gifu game, but if we're being honest, we had our reunion with them last year when it was fresh and we battered them both times. So I'm going to go and get through the whole of March, and I'm going to return for the Yokohama derby. We've not been able to show one on camera yet because of where they've fallen, but this one is after transfer deadline day. So we will be back at the end of March. Deadline day and the Yokohama derby it is. I hope you're looking forward to that one, which is televised as well. It should be a big crowd. It should be a good game. But what sort of squad are we going to have? Both of our front 2 are wanted. 2 or 3 of our younger star players are wanted too. We could end up in a weaker position than we are even now, and then I would be a little concerned. Do you think I've got a chance at getting a job? Will we be in a position where we have to run maybe in a European summer, mid-season here in Japan if it doesn't work out? Let me know your thoughts on all of that, on the transfer window and on that opening game at Hiroshima. Sorry that it bored you to death. If you did enjoy the video overall though, please do chuck a thumbs up on the video, subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on for daily FM24 content. We'll be back with Southend tomorrow before this returns in 2 days' time. And that one tomorrow is a transfer special as well. But this time, we're in charge of it. I hope you'll come and join me to see how that one gets on. If you missed yesterday's dramatic season finale from that, it's up in the eye above. There's also links to the football podcast where we've got loads of content this week, and the Twitch channel as well for regular live streams. But thank you very much for joining me for the new season. Still in Japan and still with Yokohama, but I don't see this being our long-term home unless Sean Holmes does something about it.